I finally got around to reading Murakami's Hardboiled Wonderland and The End of the World. I'm slow at some things, like an AI that doesn't run at the right speed for conversation. But that book's not about AI or computers as such, so it's purely extra-textual that I bring it up. I don't think Murakami meant to say you couldn't hide from a computer program that it is a computer program in that book, but it fits. I think you know my position on spoilers, so I'm going to launch into a discussion of the book even though I don't know for sure that you've read it. If you want to wait and read the rest of the email later, that's fine. I especially liked the umbrage pun at the end. That makes me like the translator, either for pluck or for having a deep cut in their Chinese room, if you'll forgive that reference in something about a Japanese book by someone like me. Something else that landed on me late was the trans reading. The pink girl is going to put the detective into a freeze, but go on living, changing the curtains in his place. It's clear that there's confusion between two of the characters, the detective and the reader, and there doesn't need to be additional layers of confusion, but different readings are suggested. The professor might be the detective's cunning self-deception, or the father that's missing, or the husband that left, any of which may share identity with the authorial first person, or that may be sympathy talking on my part, which extra-textually is paranoia or projection by another name. Also, there's the bit at the end where 10 bags of popcorn and scattered 9 of them counts down to just 3 matches, like some kind of self-hypnosis or nuclear missile launch. And then there's a break, and after that there are 3 rings of a phone, like it's counting up. Numbers and codes and whatnot suggest an author that would conceive of putting a hidden message in the book. The paper clips are called out early and resolved in them having the same use you're supposed to have for rice or needles or whatever when chased by a vampire. The monster will lose itself looking for meaning. The end of the book is full of numbers, though, going up and down, and lots of puns. Aren't you being dogmatic feels pointed at me, but I'm being cynical. I'm reminded of this movie Zero Day I just watched that's a found footage thing about the Columbine shooting. It's pretty good, but when they mention paper clips as shrapnel, the offhandedness of that makes it feel like a call-out. What I wrote about that movie was mostly oblique, but while I considered it, I didn't render verdict on whether it's exploitative or not. Of course it's exploitative if we're talking one to another, but on a longer timeline does it stand on the merit of what it is? Spoiler alert, but that movie has a climax. And maybe we could have done without that, but the climax is done in a detached third-person security cam footage in contrast to the immediacy of the rest of it. But then the climax has a climax. It's in a corner of the screen, robbed of centrality, but it's still there. Maybe it should be, and my verdict on exploitation is still out. Anyway, 10 Bags comes after the reference to the third man, and the protagonist there is an alcoholic who wakes from a stupor in a hellish bottle city, but makes it to the end of the mystery without needing the outside world's help to find footing. But he gets to meet his dark opposite at the end of the second act, or the midpoint, or the climax of the flick. I don't know where it is in the runtime, but it really must be closer to the end, because the sewer chase after it feels like it belongs in a denouement. But I'm digressing. Wonderland ends before its climax, I'd venture. The last page of this copy is after the shadow's gone, but the shadow hasn't leapt at the end of the page before, so either by design or happenstance, I didn't get that catharsis. The bomb never lands, if I'm reminded of Gravity's Rainbow. At its surface level, of course, that book does a lot more work getting to that point, and probably for different ends. I don't know if you've read that book, but I'm delighted to hear that you're interested in House of Leaves. If the secret message is about which fathers and husbands and grandfathers or daughters and wives and mothers and romantic interests are the same people, then I'm not interested. I mean, I want to know, but that's like worrying about spoilers. There are things with deeper readings that are obscure to me that I like anyway. I'm writing about books, but I like talking about movies. Maybe I should try to write about movies. I've got notes for a book, but good luck living off of books. Maybe this email would work as a video thing, but I have to be cute about it. But I haven't done that other thing, even though I've had time. The only hard part of making it through the winter is not being depressed. Time is sufferable if it passes. But in a video essay, I'd want to get to Sex, Lies, and Videotape and how it's notably not a found footage. But that being all I have to say about that flick is about all I have to say about that flick, even though it's a Soderbergh. But part of my affection for Soderbergh is like how I liked Missy Elliott. There's a lot of misalignments here when I was really attaching to Timbaland. But anyway, David Holmes is a genius, and you gotta check out Bow Down to the Exit Sign and maybe the soundtrack to Ocean's 13. But thank you for watching. This is a reinterpretation of an email I sent to a friend. I might flatter myself that I'm good at talking about movies, but I don't know what I would have to say to no one, and I don't know what I would have to say to anyone in particular either, so maybe if I'm going to say something else, you can help me pick the next thing. Take a look at these notes, and if you dig anything special, let me know.